Brought to you by businessblueprint.com.au.
Your cash flow follows your calendar. Now, I don't actually know who said this, and so I'm going to claim it as my own. So this is a quote by Dale Beaumont, okay? Your cash flow follows your calendar, okay? So the reason why, I've done everything that I did, the reason why I've done everything I've done this year is because it was in my calendar in October last year, and that's what I was always going to do. I don't run things from week to week or month to month. I plan things out in advance, and basically I'm now 3/4 of the way through executing my plan for this year. Okay, so everything happens because it was decided to be that way. And so the money that you'll make will be in direct proportion to the activities that you do. And if it's not documented, if it's not diarized, if you haven't blocked the time out that this is when I'm going to do this activity, then you'll always be caught chasing a tail or putting out fires and doing other stuff that's kind of urgent but not really that important for your business long term. And so this is a really important one. Your cash flow, the amount of money that you make, will follow your activities, and you've got to decide what those activities are and document them and put them into your calendar. And so if you want a real, an example, this is my calendar for this whole year. And right now, I am here, the 7th of October, through executing my strategy, my big picture strategy for this particular year. And so this is how I've planned things out. Okay, at the top are all of my business-related activities that I'll go through, and down here are some of my personal-related activities. And what I'm going to be doing in a few moments' time is passing you all out a blank one of these, and so you can start to plan your year in advance right now, and I'm going to break this down into small bite-sized chunks and explain to you how to put it all together. So you guys ready for that? Okay, so it's going to look really cool. All right. And right now, this is my calendar for 2012, okay? So I've mapped out, this is what I've done this year, this is what I'm going to do next year, and it's already now set and locked in. I've got venues booked, and everything is pretty much now set up, okay? So again, the whole quote is, your cash flow follows your calendar, okay? So just remember those 3 quotes. So now I want to ask you guys a question. Are you guys ready? Do you want to make this year your best year ever? Yeah, cool. Because it all decides with you making that intention, okay? And not waiting until, January, February, March before you make that decision. You should be making this decision now and start gearing yourself up and gearing your team up and telling everyone around you, this is going to be my best year ever, despite what's happening in the news, despite what's happening in the economy. Because you all realize that you create your own economy. Does that make sense? It's what you decide in your head is whatever it will be. If you decide it's going to be a tough year and the economy is going to, be difficult, it's going to be a tough market, then that's what you'll probably get. But if you decide, hey, that's not going to affect me, I make my own economy here, I can decide the type of year that I'm going to have because I'm responsible for my own success, then you can start to make it so. Okay? So going back to those 3 quotes that we just mentioned, the 3 takeaways are, get prepared. Remember, spectacular achievement is always preceded by less spectacular preparation. So we've got to prepare for success. There was another quote that I didn't share, and that was, the will to succeed is not as important as the will to prepare to succeed. Everyone wants to be able to succeed. The will to succeed, everyone has it. Everyone wants to be a millionaire. Everyone wants to have a nice car and live in a nice house. But the will to prepare to succeed, meaning the will to actually lay the foundation, decide what's needed to be done, and then to do the work, not many people are prepared to do that. And that's the reason why only few people ever achieve massive amounts of success. So the first one is get prepared, okay? The next one is start now, okay? This month of October is kind of really important to start setting things up. Don't wait until halfway through next year. And then you've got to lock it in. You've got to decide. You've got to set it in stone, okay, and put it into your calendar. This is what needs to be done, and now I'm going to stick to the plan, okay? And there's another saying that I might share with you, and I don't know if you'll fully understand it right now, or I might have to reiterate it again at the end. But I remember someone saying is that the commitment to the strategy is more important than the strategy itself. The commitment to the strategy is more important than the strategy itself. A classic example of that is weight loss. Now, how many programs out there on the market? Heaps. And pretty much all of them work. It's just whether or not you're going to stick at one program for long enough to see the benefits. Because what most people do is they try a program for a day or for a week, and then they stop doing it, and they do something else. And they spend all their time bunny hopping from thing to thing, as opposed to continually just executing on the strategy. Because sometimes what people do is they go, oh, I'm going to try this approach and this approach. And if you change too much, what ends up happening is, you confuse people. And remember, confusion can be a really big killer out there. So I'll reiterate that again a bit later on. Okay, the commitment to the strategy is more important than the strategy itself. But then you've got to lock it in. Lock it in, and then you've got to commit to the strategy. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, because it's the stop-starts that kills people, not just the let's keep going and push through it. So you're going to get the calendar in front of you in just a few moments' time. Now, how we do this is, first of all, we're going to start by putting things in the right order. Now, this is a time management principle, okay? And if you've ever seen this before, the scenario is, imagine you've got a glass jar, and you've got 3 different sets of objects. You've got some sand, you've got some small rocks, and then you've got some big rocks. Now, if you need to get all of those ingredients into the jar, then one way of doing it is, let's put in all the sand, and then after we put in the sand, we'll put in the small rocks, and then after we put in the small rocks, we'll put in the big rocks. Now, what happens if you do that is this, okay? Here's the sand, here's the small rocks, and there's the big rocks, and guess what? It doesn't fit. You can't put the lid on, and you've got rocks that are out the side, okay? So the forms are coming out now. Take 2 per person, okay? There should be enough for 2 per person. If not, take 1, and we'll get you another one later on. So now we can look up at the screen, and we can see the correct way of doing this is this. Now, you can't even see the big rocks that well because they went in first. And then what went in next? The small rocks. And then what went in last? The sand. And now the same ingredients fit in perfectly with even a bit of room to spare because we put things in the right order. And so that's what we need to do when we're going to do the calendar right now. So we've all got one in front of us. Okay. So we're now going to start this process. And what we're going to do is we're going to start the process with the big rocks, okay? So what are the big rocks? Well, the big rocks basically are the answer to this question, and that is, what activity creates most of your business? So that's the question. What activity creates most of your business? Because if you've heard of the 80-20 principle, there's probably about 20% of your activities that create 80% of your success. And we want to know what is that, that small thing that makes the big difference.
Brought to you by businessblueprint.com.au.